A creative director is basically someone who makes high level creative decisions, who oversees assets, creative assets such as advertisements, logos, products, events. This is basically the definition of a creative director that I literally just got off of Google because I never really bothered to know what or like to know the proper definition of a creative director. And I thought before doing a deep dive on how this role has started in fashion, how and what it means today, and what I envision it to be in the future, it would be great if we could start from the actual definition of it. But to be honest, this definition means literally everything but nothing at the same time. Fashion news about creative directors leaving a house, moving to a new house, getting fired, getting hired somewhere else. It has been the biggest fashion news since, I don't know, like September, October 2024 until now. I feel like it's really almost becoming clickbait, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I wondered how, like, I just wanted to like go a little bit deeper into like what the role was and how it has developed until today, starting off from Karl Lagerfeld, which in my opinion is the creative director OG at chloé. He started there in 19 like before 1974, but he became the sole designer in 1974 at chloé. And it's interesting because obviously it was not a thing, and at that point in time, fashion houses like Chanel, for example, or Dior, for example, they weren't really trying to reinvent themselves. They were just basically trying to keep their heritage, and yeah, just keep the meaning. I have the sun straight into my eyes. If you're on the video version of this podcast, you're gonna see. If not, don't even bother. I'm trying not to get blind. It's just gonna last a second. Normally I film these videos in the morning, but now I decided to do it in the afternoon. Grab your drink of choice. I have no drink with me now. I wouldn't mind a glass of white wine, but I'm not gonna bother to stop this recording, stand up, go pick my wine up. So you guys can do it. Go grab your wine, go grab your drink, and enjoy this aperitivo time with me. Karl Lagerfeld was the first designer that, besides having to actually design the collections for a house that he did not found, he also kind of had to rewrite the visual image as well as story of that specific fashion house, and that this happened at chloé first, at Chanel after. But yeah, he's kind of like the OG creative director, if you ask me. But the whole creative director superstar slash celebrity was something that was developed by Bernard Arnault, which is this mastermind monster behind the LVMH group. Bernard Arnault was the first one to actually see the potential in this, like a proper potential, also with the help of Anna Wintour. But before that, I also wanted to kind of like tell the story of how he did this like hostile acquisition to get Dior. This is a story that's, by the way, very beautifully told through images and with beautiful, very smart people in fashion like Tim Blanks. In the documentary, what was the title? Was it like The Kingdom of Dreams? This is a documentary that if you guys have not seen it, pause it podcast right here, right now, and go watch it. It's kind of hard to find, by the way, especially online. I watched it on Italian, like Sky, the Sky in Sky Italia. It was also available on Disney for a short amount of time some years ago, but it's not available anymore. Anyways, if you guys have time, go through this. Like, I think it's 3 to 4 episodes. You're gonna have the whole story of LVMH group as well as the Kering group, with a lot of like beautiful archive images from the time. So it's a very interesting documentary and commentary of what was happening in fashion in the 90s. You're gonna have a lot of John Galliano in it. You're gonna have a lot of Bernard Arnault, as well as Gucci, Tom Ford, and many others. I'm not gonna spoiler anything to you, but it's very beautiful. So go watch it. Anyways, long story short, what it's also told in the documentary is that Bernard Arnault did this hostile acquisition. The parent company that owned Dior at the time was called Boussac. And Bernard Arnault acquires the company which wasn't doing well at all. He fires everyone and he keeps Dior so he can start his empire. Basically, that's like the first brand, the first fashion house that he actually acquires. And he decides, under the advice, supervision, push of Anna Wintour, to hire the upcoming British designer everyone was talking about in the fashion bubble at the time, called John Galliano. John Galliano was hired to be the creative director of Givenchy at the beginning. After only one show, Bernard Arnault decides to put him in charge of the creative direction at Dior, and he hires then McQueen for Givenchy, and a couple of seasons slash years after, he will hire for Louis Vuitton Marc Jacobs. So basically, Bernard Arnault is the first one to actually see potential in this, as well as he's the one who turns creative directors into celebrities, because so much was happening at the time. The fashion bubble was growing, fashion was becoming more mainstream. So many more people outside of the fashion bubble were actually interested now in fashion. A lot of upcoming rising stars were actually becoming celebrities as well, that were inside the fashion bubble, like Kate Moss. And there was like a whole the whole like top model thing as well. This phenomenon has also pushed the fame of designers, specifically the creative directors, which were best friends with the top models. See the case of John Galliano with Kate Moss. I'm not saying that this is the only thing that made them famous. I want to say that this has helped and pushed them to actually be like reach this level of fame. On one hand, they were getting the fame like this. On the other hand, they were getting the budgets from LVMH to do what the fuck they wanted, specifically John Galliano again. But then also budgets were a little bit more reduced, but also in the case of McQueen, they also then started their own brand as well. And all of these elements have helped their career, their also the way that the career has developed, as well as their talent, because they had the funds and kind of like the trust to try whatever the fuck they wanted to try. So that's good. Plus, the fame has definitely helped to like turn creative directors into superstars. Long story short, this is how creative directors became their own brand, and also how how their influence reached far beyond fashion. Today we have so many more fashion houses, so many more cities, and this whole constant change that's happening since 2024, it's becoming, seriously, my head is spinning. It's becoming quite suffocating. It's very hard to keep up with, and I have, yeah, like I don't give a fuck to give up with, because I just want to see what's going to happen when everyone is settled in, and like these creative directors are actually starting to design for these new fashion houses that they've been assigned to, so, or that they were hired by. So definitely very curious about that. But because it's so hard to keep up with the news, um I'm just at the moment waiting for real shit to happen, if that makes sense. But it's a clear example of the fact that the fashion industry and the luxury fashion business is undergoing a deep crisis. Otherwise, guys, there's no change. When there's success, there's no change. But they're changing so much, that's like a clear sign that things are not fucking going well. It has never been more important for a creative director to be able to balance like the art of fashion with the market's needs, basically. But how? By maintaining, obviously, commercial success. Um, and this has always been like that, but never ever as important like right now. But I don't find it fair to put all of this pressure on one person, because it's also not a successful strategy for like business. Like, can one person solve all problems? I don't want to address the rumors that are going on at the moment, because sometimes they are also proved to be wrong. That's why they're called rumors, like in the case of Demna at Gucci, that no one literally expected this. But that's definitely one of the creative directions that I'm mostly excited by, because it's probably one of the boldest moves that have been made in these months. Balenciaga was actually, like, Demnet Balenciaga, it has been 10 years of success. Like, success, I would say commercial viability, commercial success. Then, of course, there are things that went wrong. Now, I'm very curious to see how Demna will translate his vision, his approach to fashion through Gucci's house codes that are completely different um, from Balenciaga. I'm very much interested to see Demna taking a leak to that Italian, like the Italian way of being, the Italian way of dressing, which is so much more, like, it's so much about that. So I want to see how Demna will work out his Italianity. I'm not very excited by Donatella Versace leaving Versace, but also I'm not a costumer. Like, I never wore Versace. I would never anyways buy what Versace is or like stands for. It's very much loud, it's very much colorful, it's very much gold. These are things that I normally don't really like to wear or invest in, although I obviously appreciate the craftsmanship, especially of Gianni and those times. It's always a fascinating story and history, of Italian fashion to talk about, to read about. For Balenciaga's creative direction, I keep my hopes up for Martin Rose, which is one of my favorite designers at the moment. I really like what she's doing, especially in menswear. I do wear a lot of menswear, and I do look to menswear fashion a lot. So I would like to see her there. She definitely has the ability for that, and I think she's gonna be great with the right budget, which is the Balenciaga budget. So I really hope to see her there, also because we absolutely need more women in like in the creative direction positions. We have barely none at the moment. Sarah Barton, but Maria Grazia Curie, which is also leaving Dior. Very curious to see who's going to take her place. Everyone is saying Jonathan Anderson, because that could be a good reason for him to leave Loewe, but we don't know. We just might wait and see. By the time this podcast comes out, probably we will have some news, because like every other day there's something else, something new happening. I do believe that putting so much pressure and so much responsibility on one person for the creative direction of fashion houses that are over 100 years old sometimes, in some cases, it's definitely a lot. And when then these people leave, like in the case of Alessandro Michele or at Gucci or Demna at Balenciaga, they leave and like the whole house is a fucking chaos. You have to start again. You have to recreate the brand identity. You have to like change direction almost completely. You will have 4 to 6 seasons that will probably not even be commercially viable, will be like this, like in between, just to like build another creative direction. So, like in the case of Sabato De Sarno. So I just wonder how, yeah, like if like on a long term, is this strategy successful to have like one superstar? Maybe hiring someone in-house, like in the case of Stefano Gallici, could be better, because maybe there's less pressure. um, and having less pressure sometimes brings out also more creativity. It brings out some, like, I don't know, for creative jobs, having so much pressure, it's definitely not something that will help you to do the best of what you can, in my opinion. So I envision the role of creative director, like for the future, to be more flexible. This is what I hope, at least, to be more flexible, maybe even shorter tenures, or maybe even collaborative teams, more people working on specific collections. Less about the creative director and more about the fashion house, or in reality, actually more of the story that you want to tell with that specific collection, with that specific historic moment of the fashion house. What do you want to say? So like, let's give space to that, because I think that's what's beautiful, and that's what people actually relate to, and that's why people want to buy the products in the end. Having creative directors that are maybe superstars and maybe they have strong brands, that doesn't necessarily translate into sales, in my opinion. I look at just simply at my case. Alessandro Michele is one of the people that have influenced me the most. Is I've watched everything he has done, every single show, every single interview, but I never bought anything he has ever done because his style is so different from mine. Like, I appreciate the way his mind works. I appreciate the brand identity that he was able to actually build at Gucci, especially considering how Gucci was when he got there. But then I would never buy what he does. Like, it's just not for me. It's too loud, too max. Like, I'm not this person, even though I'm appreciating and enjoying his brand. So having a superstar creative director, it doesn't necessarily make people buy more. And I think the end customer doesn't really know or want to know necessarily so much about the creative director. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, how many people are buying the latest Prada coat because it's actually designed by Raf Simons? Like, many Prada customers, they don't really know. Maybe collaborative partnerships. And again, like, thinking about Prada and Raf, I personally think the co-design partnership relationship that they have going on, it's a successful story, a successful case study for a co-creative direction. It's so beautiful to see someone like Miuccia Prada that is actually working with someone who's like so different, like, I could have never imagined this before, and now that it happened, when it happened, I was kind of shocked. But seeing how every collection like is like a process in their collaboration, I think is so beautiful. And it's the right push for a house like Prada, which otherwise probably would be quite stagnant right now if Rap wouldn't have gone there. These were my 2 cents about the whole topic. Let me know what you think. Let's start a conversation. I'm very much eager to read your feedbacks. I'm trying to turn the pod into like a bi-weekly thing. Maybe having an episode about like cultural fashion commentary, his fashion history, fashion news, and one about like fashion careers and jobs in fashion. You guys are also very much interested into that. It's like my whole topic in my DMs right now. So I think we could do something like that. Not promising anything, but I will definitely try.